In today's program, herders' attacks and the plight of farmers will attract our conversation today. This video trended all through the week. A man who's done so much to produce and now he can't enjoy the benefit of his harvest. His yam barn completely destroyed. If this yam were fed to cows, I'm sure perhaps the man would have been happy or happier that he's contributing to the development of the country. But to suffer this kind of destruction is something to look into. Nobody has visited him. We also haven't seen governors from the northern part of the country visiting Edo State to sympathize and empathize with this victim. That seems to be the core of the issue. But we'll talk about all of that in the course of the program. I'm Sonny Duke Okosun, your host on the program. Let's meet our panelists on the show this lovely Saturday morning. Austin Adogame is joining us from Brimo is joining us from Abuja. Is a veteran media practitioner, is the immediate past National Commissioner South in the Police Service Commission, and who will be joining us live from Abuja. And then, of course, Shedrack Udubai is a former Special Advisor to the State Governor on Politics and Youth Affairs. He will be joining us from Benin City in just a moment. We also have joining us, we're physically here in the studio, is a former Eastern Northeast Local Government Chairman, a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, and of course is a PDP Edo Central Senatorial aspirant in the forthcoming Edo State governorship election, Honorable John Ehivachoma Yakubu. I just like the middle name. Thank you for joining us, John. We also have with us in the studio a former House of Representative candidate, is also a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress Public Affairs Analyst, Engineer Esosa Moegbe. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Okay, we have Austin Brimo joining us via Zoom from Abuja, the seat of power, FCT. Austin, many thanks for joining us on the program this beautiful Saturday.
I appreciate you. Let me greet all my family and friends and everyone in Edo State. I thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Okay, I'm not so sure Shedrack has joined us virtually now, but as soon as he joins us, we'll give him due recognition. But let's get the conversation on. The Uromi incident, in which about 16 persons, travelers, as a matter of fact, who were described as hunters, were killed, will continue to be, will remain a sour taste as far as our socio-political development is concerned. For most analysts, the undercurrent on these issues are not being addressed, and that seems to be the core of the matter. So in today's program, we'll re-engage that issue, interfacing with some of the current happenings in the country, and then, of course, the actions taken by the state governor in relation to governors in the affected states, and how all of this can bring this issue to a closure. But will that ever happen is one question begging for answer. Let me begin this part of the conversation with Honorable John Ehivachoma Yakubu. We've seen this matter dominating discussion in the last couple of days, and it looks like there is no end in sight against the background as to how this issue has been over the years and where we are today with it. What are your perspectives?
Well, let me say this. First of all, let me sympathize with the family of the 16 travelers, like you call them, the 16 hunters, who were armed, who got themselves killed in Uromi. Let me honestly, sincerely sympathize with the entire family of those 16 persons that were involved, and also the government of Kano State. That is not in our character in this and not this local government, Uromi. Precisely. We are a very hospitable people. You can get to know that when you visit Uromi. And that was put to rest by the Secretary of Hausa community on the very day that this incident happened in Uromi. If you hear him say, look, we have lived there as brothers and sisters for the past 70 years. And I tell you this, we actually don't have strangers in Uromi. It is for that reason that in Uromi, an Igbo man was elected as a councillor. First time in Edo State, elected as a councillor, and he served his tenure. And again recently, even in Uromi, an Igbo man is the special advisor to the elected local government, an Hausa man is the special advisor to the local, by name Aruna, the special advisor to the elected local government chairman. And I tell you this, over 500 million naira that was raised to build the Uromi main market, you go there, you see it, was raised through this same man's account, who is not an Uromi man. That to tell you the level of relationship that Uromi people enjoy with strangers in Uromi. In short, like I started, we really don't have strangers in Uromi. But what has happened over the time and over the years is that, and most especially, most recently, is that some of these elements who are in Uromi to do whatever they want to do, most especially the Hausa community, have come to started terrorizing our people. And unfortunately, so sad that even the government is honestly didn't do anything about it. So what you saw on that Friday, on that fateful Friday, is that the people over the past 6 months have been on their own, without government support, without any person coming to their rescue. So what you saw on that day was that a people traveling, I really don't know of an Edo man who be traveling from here to Kano and is expected to have guns, cutlasses, and very dangerous weapons with him. What they saw was a group of people fully armed to the teeth and passing through the town, and they probably mistakenly believe that these are some of the men who have been terrorizing our people in recently and in time past. And I tell you this, for the past 6 months, I say this very loud and clear, over 600 million have been paid out as ransom in the Northeast local government, and even beyond. What is 600 million? I tell you this, in my own village, just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, a woman was kidnapped in her house and taken to the bush. And where was the ransom paid? Somewhere in Auchi. What did they do? They collected 20 million naira from this woman, the poor woman. What did she needed to sell her house and so many other things to raise that 20 million. They collected the 20 million naira from her somewhere in Auchi. And what did they do? They released her and took the person that went with the ransom. As I speak to you, while coming to this program, I asked about her, and they told me she's in a hospital in Benin here recuperating. That is after she's been dealt with by the same Hausa fraudulent people coming into our society to begin to terrorize our people. And I'm surprised that the government is not in any way looking in that direction. The people are helpless. All they do is that when someone is kidnapped in his house, they take them to the bush, pay ransom, and they just walk away. You report to the police, they'll tell you, oh, we are looking into the matter. Not one, not two, not three have been arrested or rescued. Even when an Odoche was kidnapped in this land, not one, not two. The people have to come together to pay the ransom to release the Onuti. So what you are seeing is negligence on the part of the present government. I must say that. Because before the coming of this present government, we have kidnapping, yes, I agree with you. But what did the past government do? A lot of persons, some of these, what do you call them now, the part of the security that intercepted these people, were trained, were there to manage the security situation in their various villages. But what did we see in Edo State? Shortly before the election, they were dismantled and disbanded. Even when Obaseki, after the election, after they be asked to return back, you can show it to Edo people. The then deputy governor of the state went to the commissioner of police and instructed that they should not be allowed to come back. And when those set of people who were trained and retrained, trained through the police process of doing their job, were asked to go, what did you have? They assembled a ragtag set of people, armed them, and here what the result we have today. But I tell you this, I want to appeal to the government. This is not in any way shifting blame to any person. If we must do what we are supposed to do, yes, the governor visited Kano. How many of our people killed? Like the woman that returned from the kidnappers then. He said on the road to, we will call it on the road to Golgotha, you have a lot of dead bodies on the road. Which means when somebody is kidnapped and the ransom is not paid on time, they can't kill the person and they dumped it somewhere.
And you could see that when the Reverend Father and the young man was kidnapped in Edo North. What did they do? Because they wasted time paying the ransom, what did they do? They killed the young boy. And here we are. Nobody, none of our child, none of our son will live here and go to the north to begin to pursue them in their forest. But here we are surrounded by people who are supposed to be our brothers and sisters, who are supposed to be partners in developing this state. But what do they do? With the connivance of some of the people, and including the governor who is not doing anything, I expected the governor to tell the Kano State governor to come to Edo State and see the havoc they are doing here. And until that is done, I can tell you that we will not have what to do. Look at the picture you just showed. A farmer having farm for a whole year and having arranged his barn and getting to the barn the next day. What did he see? Sometimes they uproot the cassavas they will have and feed it to their cows. And no, are these people, are these animals special cow? Are we saying that we are special Nigerians and why we are inferior people in this country? And nobody, like you did mention, I want to see a situation where the Kano State governor will come to Edo State to sympathize with our farmers and those who die. It is in that regard that I will now begin to see that, yes, Nigeria is one Nigeria. Okay. But the way it stands today, I can see that the government is biased. Our state government is not doing well with the respect of nipping the bud of kidnapping on the board.
All right, thank you, John. I just allowed you time to express yourself and ventilate your views because of how the fact that you are from that particular location. But let me get to Austin Adogame Brimo. Austin, give us your take. I had a conversation with the Okukbelagbe of Okbela, His Royal Highness Lukman Akomoke. That's a few days ago. And he gave a model as to how he has been able to nip this issue in the bud. It was very clear from that conversation that we have the hospitable herders and then we have the criminals. In most conversation, this dimension is not factored in. And the Okok Balage also says something like, when you see a herd of cows and then you have about 11, 10 herders following maybe about 3, 4, 5 or 10 cows, just know that those ones, they are criminals, because the genuine ones will just be like 2 or 3 following cows. So let me get your take on this issue that is beginning to go into frightening dimensions. People that have been kidnapped and they pay ransom, they come back with very, very horrific tales about dead bodies littering the roads or the bush paths that they are taking through, and then they end up paying ransom, and then we hear some of these things that are happening, which is just so discouraging, so disheartening, and very depressing. Austin.
Thank you. Let me approach this from a purely professional angle. And issues of security should not be politicized. And I know that the best way politicians do their politics is to turn every opportunity they have to speak to the public, to a political campaign, whether pro or against the government. This is pure security issues. I would like to rather find recipe professionally from the two sides that I belong. One, I think, Sonny, you know more than I do what the whole country has been passing through over the past, over the past 20 years, from even before Boko Haram and all that. Security has been almost bastardized in the whole country for a very long time. But at a point, the South became a safe haven for people running away from murderers, kidnappers, and killers, from Boko Haram to bandits, from northeast to northwest, and so on, running down to the south. So that's why today, if you go to any central mosque in any village, you are likely to see 50, 60, 70 to 100 young northerners. Let's stop profiling, say whether they are Hausas or Fulani. When things are okay, we really don't know the difference between the Hausa and Fulani. They are northerners. Some are from Plateau State. I have more than 10 youths that I employed in my place at Auchi. They are northerners. I don't care whether you are from Plateau, from Benue, from Sokoto, or Borno. They are northerners. So what I want to state clearly is that we don't need to look at this in the perspective of politics, whether government is doing that or doing that. There is security breakdown all over the world. There's war in the Middle East, in the Asia, and all over. So we begin to think that ours is worse. But let's look at it this way. We can police our territories, but we need not throw away the baby with the bathwater. Let me come specifically, and I'm an establishment person, but I must come specifically to say the truth. So let us see. Now we have come a long way saying we need community policing. How has the definition of community policing been enunciated properly to sink into our communities? Every leader will come up to say community policing means a partnership between the Nigerian police force, the hunters, and vigilantes. Some will say, no, we need to really recruit like Amotekun in the West, have a core group that we call our own local police in the local government area that will be armed and trained to partner with the police and other security agencies. So we've been able to really define what community policing is. That has been the problem. Otherwise, the concept of community policing would have by now taken care of all these insecurities and all these challenges that we have. It's not about the governor. Let me go through that governorship, whether it's the governor that has failed or the president that has failed. I'll give you an example of one recipe. The former IGP, Solomon Arasi, retired, did a security report to the government, which I had a peep into. He recommended that Nigerian police force be decentralized. And I'm sure this is not new in public space anymore. And part of his recommendation that I think we should take hold is that, I give, for instance, we have 6 Deputy Inspector Generals of Police. The 6 Deputy Inspector General of Police are seated there at force headquarters in Abuja. What are they doing? Please, we are journalists. You can. Deputy Inspector General of Police. These DIGs had AIGs, more than 10, 15 under their command. What are the AIGs doing? At the force headquarters, we must up to 50 or 30 AIGs. What are they doing? Now, what did Arase recommended? Let one DIG move to one zone. We have 6 constitutionally. We have 6. Each of them should head the security apparatus of every zone. Let AIGs go out and post it to various zones of the local government and report to DIG. DIG should take command of security of a zone. We have a DIG in charge of South. There are AIGs in the states. 6 states. CPs report to them, or they call the DIG. They take control. They can decentralize this authority, and they can take decisions and report to IGP. They can budget through IGP. They can contact IGP. We have a challenge of taking such decisions, but we don't have that now. So what are they doing? That is that. There are so many other recommendations that is in government hands that we expect for the proper use of our man hands. We could overcome some of these challenges. There are so many roads that lead into the market. But this is one. And then, like we mentioned earlier about community policing, we have not yet missed it. The director of DSS was quoted as saying that let our people be armed. That when bandits and all that come and know that you are armed, they will be circumspect. They will not just rush into your house and kidnap you and do all that. We're all victims. None of you is not aware of what has happened in Dauchi recently. Yeah. The woman who went to, the woman that was kidnapped, the husband was kidnapped, and the in-law were kidnapped in Dauchi, and before the woman was released after a ransom had been paid, the woman died. She returned and died. The in-law got kidnapped and paid heavily. But 2 days ago, after our community, I was informed, was attacked by Morejas in the night. It's not right for me to say on national television that they are Hausas or Fulanis. All we know is that they are bandits. But more often, by the time they are arrested, you find most of community people, indigenous, involved. They may be led by these people. So if we always say it's Hausa, Fulani, Hausa, how do they? Yes, preponderantly, we know they are. Then let me go to my own side. If you have time, I would like to address the media side of it. Because this kind of killing has not taken place the first time in Uromi. We've had this kind of things happening all over the country. In Benue, in Plateau, in Kano, in particularly Kaduna, we've had people being roasted and killed, both in their homes, in their villages. How many got trended in social media and in the mainstream media the way this Romeo has done? So we media practitioners have failed. I want us to address that core area of failure of Nigerian media system. If the video of the killing and roasting of those young men was not trended nationally, internationally, perhaps the response from the people, what you said, the northerners, the lessons may not have been so definite. Because we've had this previously. We have too many tyros, too many one, and we said too many people with social media with phones. If you have this kind of thing, you don't send them. By the way, maybe you don't have that right.
I'll come back to you, Austin Abdugame, and I also wish that we have more media practitioners so they can interface with you on this aspect of the but it's okay, we'll come back to you. Let me come to Engineer Esosa. We are here now. Some people talk about ethnic profiling, just like Austin, that it's not necessary. But is that possible? Is it possible for us for people not to look at these issues from the ethnic perspective against the background that we're talking about these activities being associated with a particular group of people across the Federation? The Uromi's case attracted a lot of attention and condemnation. But to be honest, we didn't see such condemnation to all of those series of kidnappings, killings, and all of that. I'd like to get your thoughts from the perspective of finding a solution to this problem against the background that there are some allegations that even some of the locals are complicit in some of these kidnappings.
Well, you cannot separate ethnicity from the terrorism that is happening right now in Edo State. I don't want us to give it some good names, color it in a way that it will not portray the reality. The reality is that our people are being terrorized by people of northern extraction. They are being raped. They are being maimed. They are being killed. They are being slaughtered. Some in their farms, some in their homes by these people. These are invaders. And that is why I want to agree with my brother Brahman to the extent that the issue of security should not be politicized. And this is where I want to disagree with my brother, Honorable Jakubu, that I respect so very much. I voted for his ticket, and I even went to the court to defend that ticket because I believed that that ticket won the election of 2016, but he was robbed. That is the truth. I respect him so very much because of what he did for his people when he was local government chairman. But I disagree with him that for the last 6 months, that's when, because his position was almost like, it was like the last 6 months that this issue
degenerated.
You understand? And that is not true. I don't believe that there is any governor that may have done more than what Okberolo has done in these last few months that he's been in power. He has attacked the issue of security holistically. For example, it was every other month, if not every other week, that people were dying from court clashes or gang clashes, that like I like to put it. But he put an end to that with good laws, legislation. He put an end to that. We no longer hear of that in Edo State. Secondly, he went ahead. He bought equipment, vehicles, motorbikes, for security agencies, for them to be able to carry out their work. What else is he going to do? He's not going to go into the bush by himself to go and be looking for these people. He did what he ought to do as a governor. Now, let us look at this issue holistically. The truth of the matter is this. These people have been invading. There is a statement that has been credited to the Saldana of Sokoto, some time ago, that they want to dip the Quran at the Atlantic Ocean in Nigeria. That is their aim. And they're not eating it. Sometimes we are talking about Ruga, that is creating a settlement for these people in all the local governments in Nigeria. Are they the owners of Nigeria? What are we going to do? Drive the people away and then create room for these people? Not only that, there has been this issue of grazing routes. I mean, I don't think anybody knows the secret of this nation more than President Olusegun Obasanjo, because he's been there both as a military officer and as a civilian officer. He's been at the highest level. He knows the secret. He has read security reports. He said that there is an attempt to Fulanize Nigeria, and that is the reality. That's what we are saying. Oga Sonny Duke, can you travel to the north with dagger, just dagger? But these people will travel all the way from the north to the south with guns, dangerous weapons. And you are telling me that these are not invaders? And you are telling me that these are not terrorists?
They are hunters.
Yeah, that is how
hunters, for example, coming from Rivers State.
That is how we want to classify them right now. At a time, we didn't classify them terrorists. They said we should change it. It's not herders. They are not terrorists. We should call them bandits. Now they are not hunters. Really? Like, seriously? These people are hunters? We don't have hunters in those states. We don't have hunters in, for example, in Bayelsa or any other places. And then they will not leave they will leave their region. I'm not talking of state now. They will leave their entire region. And then it is southern region that they want to come and hunt. Come on, let's tell ourselves the truth. Until our leaders, I mean elected leaders from the south, we tackle this issue the way Governor Wike, when he was governor of Rivers State, and some other people tackled it, telling these northerners that we don't have river for you. If you want to come and create Ruga, we'll give you the Atlantic Ocean to go and do Ruga there. Until we tell our people the truth, and we stand up to these people that enough is enough of this invasion, there may never be solution to this. Okay. It's unfortunate. Okay. And I want to sympathize with those people that were killed by jungle justice. Yeah. That is not Edo State. Like my leader here rightly said, we are very hospitable in Edo State. But when the people have been excessively traumatized and terrorized, you may likely see that kind of reaction. Right. And I pray that security does not degenerate so that we will not become let me go to
John. You've been a council chairman, and I mean you've been at that level of leadership. How can we harness the potentials of security at the grassroots level to engender safety for our people?
Well let me go back to what our friend who joined us through Zoom said, that the DSS, even lecture, I think I listened to that lecture where he said we need to be ready as a people locally by way of vigilantes, like the Amoteco in the West. By way, because I was a local government chairman, yet I relate with the locals to the point of harmless, of even some of these are brothers and sisters, Hausa men, in their harmless where they live, so have been part of them with what they do. You see, government, there's little or nothing really the local government can do. He did mention something about Wike taking decisive action. And that's what I am saying that our governor should do. It is the governor of the state who have the power to take action that will turn the tide of these persons invading the state. No other person. Like what the man who joined us today, I'm not said on about Amoteco, sorry, the DSS. We must, there's no way you can begin to fight a man with a gun, except you are also armed. And it is in that respect that the past administration, I must say this, because this is known to Edo people and to every person. The gun that my brother Ibadi took away from those vigilantes, where are they? Because when he came, some of those guns were bought by people in their villages, the society, and others. Like the Atalakba in Edo Central Senatorial District. I contributed money. Every other Esan man, reasonable Esan man, contributed money to forming Atalakba. And what did they do? They bought vehicles and guns. And when the present administration came, what did they do with those guns? They have retrieved them. How do you now go to the point to fight those people? Immediately they realize, that's why my dear brother, I must go back to 6 months ago. Because the moment they realize that those guns have been retrieved and that setup of vigilante that was properly trained and retrained have been dismantled, they unleashed terror on the people. And what did you do?
There is no way you can remove the government from what is happening in Edo State. If the governor cannot go to ESA to sympathize with people who are losing their brothers and sisters and everything, and finding solution on how to deal with the situation, who else will do it? John Yakubu or your humble self? No. And it is because nobody is doing anything. That is why you see what is going on. And I tell you, with the police, they don't have enough men. Let's be realistic about talking about Nigeria police. Honestly speaking, the number of policemen will have to police the present society is inadequate. Most especially, I will say this in my town, Uromi. It's a town growing every day. The growth of Uromi is so high that a lot of influx of strangers and others from different ethnic groups are coming into the town. So we need a system that is localized, that is not to us, train and retrain, for us to be able to handle the present situation.
All right, thank you, John. Let me quickly link up with Austin because we're pressed for time. Austin, you threw a jab at the media on how they cover report on some of these security issues being something that all hands needs to be on deck. Let's just give you 1 minute to expand on that and give us your recommendation in that direction, because you are a veteran in the industry, and I know that for sure. One of the security conference that was held in Abuja, you were one of the resource persons, and the fact, I mean, the thoughts that you brought forth were quite very profound. You also have a book in that. You're one of the contributors to the book written, I think, after that security conference in Abuja. Yes, Austin, quickly. Okay, you need to turn on your mic so we can hear you, Austin Brimo. Okay, yes, go ahead. We can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, please.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for...
No, go ahead.
I was saying that we poor media performance is escalating these conflicts. And we must play our role to douse this conflict.
So are you saying the media shouldn't report this incident the way they are reporting it? Because that seems to be part of the problem, particularly when banditry came out and all of that. They said they are not terrorists, they should call them bandits. But the activities are just the same.
Exactly.
Terrorists kidnap, they kill, they maim. Bandits kidnap, kill. I mean, so I don't get the thrust of your presentation.
All right, let me go straight to that. In media practice, we have what we call social responsibility. It is not every fact that you must put in a public domain. If we allow that to continue, this country will soon go into war. Like I was saying earlier, those videos that I managed from Uromi almost led to reprisals. I'll give you an example. If you go to Benin market tomorrow, Urban market, I beg your pardon, and then you are as a journalist, you are privy to one Hausa man and a Benin man arguing, and they go into a fight, and the Hausa man dies. You go to your studio and say you were in the market, and Hausa man was killed by a Benin man in the market. And then when this thing hits the streets in Kano, Sokoto, Maiduguri, you say, they are killing Hausas in Benin. That is not journalism. That's not how we were taught to practice. So you have what to call social responsibility in information management and dissemination. We media professionals must begin to remember that and practice it professionally to avoid instigating crisis. You do not have to pass information that is likely to lead to breakdown of peace, breakdown of law and order. You must not pass it, even if it is the truth, even if they are the fact. That is our training. And let me put across to you, because you are a journalist. I always remember clearly as a professional the words of Professor Bruce Wesley, a famous American scholar, that said journalistic objectivity is a state of mind on the reporter and editor's part that compels you not to prejudge what you see, not to be influenced by your personal predilection, allegiances, and biases. Always to ensure that the other side is heard. All these are now missing. We just want to give out information. That is also being added by every man, Dick and Harry is a journalist, by being able to create a platform, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, are going to pour out information without training. And if this continues, when the National Assembly want to make some regulations on social media, we cry out. restriction of freedom of information. It's not so. In US, you have what you call social responsibility in media practice. You cannot just dish out information that's not going to be in the interest of security and the nation and the people. So we are getting it wrong. I don't want to look at the political side always, like my colleagues, with due respect to them, want to look at. What are we doing?
So we can get some contributions from our viewers and listeners who've been itching to call 080-7777-0300. That number right now. Let's get your take on the discussion so far on the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. 080-7777-0300. That's our studio number. Dial the number right now, right away. Let's get it. Let's go back to US society. Yeah. Community policing is the key. Maybe we can forge that synergy between the security agents and the traditional rulers, stakeholders in the community. But we know that today, in many of our communities, our young boys are no longer there. What do you make of that as a challenge, quickly?
Well, it's a very serious challenge because our people are migrating because of the difficult economic situation that they have found themselves. That notwithstanding, the role of community policing cannot be overemphasized. If we are going to defeat this menace that is plaguing our society, then we must take community policing seriously. In short, there should be an holistic approach to security matters from the very grassroots up to the presidency and at the federal level.
Okay. John, what's your key recommendation?
Well, we have to go back to the community. We have to bring back our people. Because for every community, in my village, there are young men who are so conversant with where we live, I mean, where we farm and do our farming business, than foreigners or whatever you call them coming into the place. If they are properly trained and properly placed, like what was done in the not too distant past, I am sure some of these things that we'll see today would have been eradicated. Because without the involvement of the people, if I take you to my village and get to a place today on my way to my farm, I'm sure if you are not properly piloted, you
miss your way.
You miss your way.
Yeah.
That's because there are young men who are at home who know the place. We should not allow strangers to come to the villages, because I listen to one of the your friend said we should not profile them, but the Hausa man said, look, before we enter into any community, I want to use this platform to beg the indigenous. I want to re-emphasize this, Sonny, to beg the indigenous, because there is this saying by some of these Hausa people that before we come to take over your community, to get our stand in your forest, we'll have to go into an agreement with the Onoje of that community, and that will have some amount of money we pay to them. This is where the government must come in. If you allow strangers to take over your bush or your farmland and they are terrorizing your people, such an Onoje should be called to question. So I strongly believe that until we allow the community to begin to fully take responsibility of taking care of their people, not just taking the responsibility, but government must pay. Okay. You must pay them to be able to do that job.
Okay, we just have a limited time, but the calls are not just coming in, and that's as a result of a network glitch. I mean, if you've been in Nigeria in recent times, you know there's been serious technical problems with making phone calls, receiving phone calls, even sending messages, and all of that. Interestingly, there's been an increase in the calls per unit, the data. I mean, it's crazy, but
Sonny, I will plead for 30 seconds concerning this, because kidnapping is made possible because of the GSM.
Yes.
This type of phone that we use now. The service providers must come to the assistance of the people, because without the telephone, kidnapping will not be made possible. So the service provider must come, Because once a man is arrested trying to either collect ransom through the help of the service provider, it will go. What they do is that because we are not able to trace them, and they cannot do this to Nigerians. Okay. They cannot be collecting our money, giving us data and other things, and not helping the society to eradicate this maintenance.
And I'm convinced that 77770300 is the studio number. If you can, please dial the number. Let's have your contribution. You say something. I'm convinced that the criminals are very traceable.
Yes.
You know, because before you obtain a SIM these days, you are supposed to register. Yeah. So they have their data. Yeah. So these people are traceable and trackable. Even if they do that, they fingerprint. You can track the call. Exactly.
So I'm not even talking of tracing them to their houses.
Yes.
Once a call is coming from the kidnappers, then it is the duty of the provider to either call that call or mandate the call to a point.
But if the call doesn't come through, you rest assured that the kidnapped person may not survive.
No. Once they are not able to establish communication between the kidnapped and the relations, there is no way that kidnapping can continue to thrive.
Okay. On the long run.
On the long run, even on the very short run.
Okay. Well, that's how much time will permit us. The calls are not coming through. The service providers, they are not helping us this morning on the show. The line is open, but we can't get any call coming in. That's not our fault. That's coming from the network providers. Now, my parting words. If we must deal with this issue, there must be a collaborative approach. Some of our leaders at the local levels who are indulged in collecting monies to allow these invaders settled in their communities, they are also culpable. The bloods of the people that have been killed, murdered, raped is on your head. It's also in your hands.
You are right.
Because you are culpable in this dastardly act.
That's very correct.
And then we have seen that if we have proper structure in community policing with our local vigilantes, and then you also have the Vigilante Network of Nigeria, a federal institution that have volunteers. There are several platforms we can harness to deal with these issues, but we must have the political will and remove tribal sentiments, remove ethnic sentiments for us to deal with this issue. I appeal to the governor, His Excellency Senator Monday Okpebholo, to visit that man in this video we showed you, whose yam ban that he has put together for the year has been completely ravished. The man is frustrated. The man is in despair. The man is depressed because he doesn't know what to do. Just take a listen to this video. We'll be back to call it a wrap as much time will permit us.
See my farm, see my farm. I bought a woman, Marusa. Yeah. See what happened. Yeah. Oh, I'm on it now. Go like this. That's not the one. Is he go like a man at a one? Huh? Make it carry money go buy now when I go plant. How much I'll take back now? Oh, government, I beg you, make you now listen to me. Where you go to buy again? Government, make you now. We will go to register from Fulani. Go up like this. Make them go to register from Fulani before you farm for Edo State. Oh, Monday, Bible. I beg you, we say you go help us now, make us vote for you. Listen to me. Listen to me. With my age, I found finish Fulani compilation. Huh? Is good?
Okay, that's a passionate appeal there. We've established in this program that even though there's some sort of ethnic profiling, we also have the good ones. but we have the very, very bad ones. But the good ones can help the communities in which they live to identify the bad ones, so we can remove the bad ones, and then we can continue to live in harmony and in peace. That's my podcast on the show today. Thank you for staying with us. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.